Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Pause the Politics. I can tell you that we are truly pausing the politics today with a guest that I'm very excited to introduce, Mr. Max Fosh.
Hello, guys. You well? Jack, Alex, hello.
Yes, I'm well. Hello.
Very
Thanks
good,
for having
thank
me
you.
on. Appreciate it.
No. I mean, you've been a guest on other channels, the Happy Hour podcast with 433,000 subscribers, and as the formidable Maximus Bucharest on the Zac And Jay show with 756,000 subscribers. Pause the Politics does have double digits in its following on Twitter, so it's clear to say that this is going to be the highlight of your career so far.
Come on. There it is. Exactly the same. No matter what, no matter how big a channel is, it's always the same. It's always nice to collaborate.
This is, when you're working for Radio 1, as I hope you will in the future, you'll be thinking back, you'll go, you know what, it's never going to, this will be the Wogan interview of your career, I am sure.
Frost Nixon right here.
Excellent. So your channel is very much kind of the Vox Pop kind of things, and that started out in Newcastle, right?
Yeah, that started out in 2017 in the freshest week of my final year at Newcastle, yeah.
Wow, that's quite, because I saw another video on your Vimeo, which of all
God.
places, yeah, there was a few hours research put into this, and it was for the BBC Earth, I think it was called.
Yeah, BBC Earth. God, was there a date on there?
It said 2 years ago, but it was there wasn't an actual date. I was really disappointed with that.
I tell you what that was. That was the summer. That was the summer I graduated. So that was July, August 2018. And I had just come back from university and I'd done all the street smart stuff. I had a very small following on Facebook, and the videos, I'd maybe done 20 of them. And someone had sent me the application process for BBC Earth, and I'd just done it in a park near my house and edited the whole thing, so I was slightly more comfortable about editing. I thought it was, at the time I was like, this is amazing. But I'm sure if I rewatch the video now, which I haven't for 2 years, it's going to be a pile of rubbish. But yeah, that is still up there. My audition for BBC Earth to be one of their presenters is still on Vimeo, my Vimeo.
I didn't realize that was after your street smart stuff, because I must say the style of video that you have now was very much set in that video. I found it was it was the same kind of style with the editing and the almost Tom Scott style, very interpersonal with the camera relation that you have.
Yeah, that style of stuff I learned from Casey Neistat, the style of essentially telling a story but splitting up the story into different locations, so the audience feels like there is a journey that they're going on. So Casey Neistat would do that amazingly. If you guys have seen his stuff, he'd start a story in his studio, then continue it on his longboard, then continue it whilst getting some pizza, back on the longboard, back in the studio. So the audience gets a different kind of shot. So it's not just you sat in front of a screen for 2 minutes explaining what you're trying to explain. And that's the big thing on YouTube. You're trying to come up with, I'm working on a video at the moment where it's very flat based. So I'm trying really hard to come up with ways to make it as engaging as possible, because I understand that sitting in front of a camera for 8 minutes just telling a story is a bit boring. So yeah, it's come from Tom Scott and Casey Neistat, that kind of style, definitely.
No, it's really engaging to watch. With a flat style, that's not a flat Earth video, is it? It's not. This isn't you coming out as a flat earther and trying to preach to your
No, I did. Although the flat Earth, there's a video of a guy who went to a flat Earth convention that he shot about 2 or 3 years ago. That's really, really funny. Which was one of the inspirations to go to make this series unconventional.
I was going to bring him up later. Was that All Gas No Brakes? The
no,
American?
But I've got a different story about All Gas No Brakes, which we'll come on to later. But I do,
awesome.
I do have a story about All Gas No Brakes. Yeah.
No, because we'll come on to that later. So one of your biggest series is the meal deal, like that, or maybe not the biggest because it was only 2 episodes, was it?
I think I did 2 or 3 episodes.
2.
No, I did. I did 3. I did 1.
3.
In Holborn, I did 1 in Shepherd's Bush, and then 1 at Twickenham Stadium just before lockdown. So yeah, I've done 3.
So it was, it's not, I don't think it's your most viewed video, but I think it's one that definitely stays with people that follow your channel. It's a real iconic kind of thing. So instead of asking you what your meal deal was, I thought that Alex and I could ask you how your tea and coffee situation is. Because this is the big thing.
At the moment. I'm not a massive fan of hot drinks. I'll tell you that for free. I drink coffee because I think I've got into the routine of drinking coffee. But in terms of tea, I very, very, very rarely have a cup of tea. So tea's not really my thing. I'll have a coffee every now and then, a flat white. But that's purely just something to do in the morning when I've kind of woken up. It's not something that I need. It's just something that, that's what everyone else does. It's kind of a social conforming thing to do.
Oh no, because I mean, Alex, you can probably talk more on this. We're quite big coffee drinkers, but I'm not sure if that's more for just to get work done. Because there is a certain point. I don't know if Harrogates of Taylor.
Who are Harrogates of Taylor?
They're a coffee manufacturer, and they make one that's called Hot Lava Java. And there's a sweet point at 3 a.m. where we're working on something, and we decide it is time for the Lava Java, and we will not. And that means that you are not sleeping for that day. But has that changed since you've been at university? Like, did you kind of indulge more in the coffee when you had deadlines to hit that were possibly
Not
more?
really. And to be fair, I never worked particularly hard at university, and that's not like I did no work and just went partying all the time. Like, I would do little. I was never pulling all-nighters in the library because I would just start it quite early. I guess it's probably a sensible way of doing it, but I would do little bits at a time, which and so I think that was taught to me when I was at school. So I never really had the, oh my God, I've got to write 4,000 words in 24 hour kind of vibe and the whole thing. So I think I maybe had 2 in the 4 years that I was there. So I never really drank much coffee, and I never really worked particularly hard. I was never like getting up at 6 in the morning to go to the library. That wasn't really something that I did. No, I didn't really have that. I think if anything, it's come from when I've left university and I'm now working, that I'll go for a meeting and someone says, "Do you want a coffee?" And just like, yeah. So that's probably where my kind of starting coffee drinking has started.
I mean, Alex, do you want to take the floor on this? Because I mean, I don't think I could survive without coffee.
Oh no, yeah. I know, I'm basically the same as in like coffee. Coffee consumption stress can be quite eloquently graphed out, and as the stress increases, the coffee consumption increases rapidly. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that's the case. I mean, yeah. I don't really know. I actually end up just not doing anything, and I just think, right, I'm going to but a friend of mine at university, his only motivation, we found this so funny, was something called the fear. So the fear, he only worked when he had the fear, which was, let's say you had an essay dead due at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, right? Now, he would be midday the previous day on the sofa watching TV. It's like, Rory, why aren't you working? And he would say, because I know it's going to get done. Like, it's going to get done. It's 9 a.m. I am going to hand that in. So I don't know why I should be stressing, because it's going to be finished. And he would only get off his ass once the fear set in. So there was all sorts of different ways that people kind of stimulated themselves to get work done, definitely.
Yeah, I think my housemate's just gone through that because he had something due in at 2 p.m. yesterday, and he started at like 1 a.m, and then I think he's still asleep.
Yeah, because he'll probably sat there. I think it's going to get done. I know it's finished, but just not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Yeah.
On the topic of meal deals, I've been heckled for buying a meal deal before.
Have you?
Yeah, I know. It's so we went to Sunderland to meet for a reception with the Prime Minister, actually.
Wow.
And on the way back, we were all in suits, and we all went for Tesco to go and get something to eat. But actually, as we were crossing this bridge, there was like loads of kind of gangs of youths, if you know what I mean, like no older than 8. But to us, they were quite intimidating. They probably shouldn't have been, but we were quite intimidated. And then one of them started shouting "meal deal" at us, and they started chanting "meal deal" as we walked past them. And
I mean, hey, as long as I would only do that if you were holding a bad meal deal. So if it's a good one, I'll let you off. But if it's a bad one, I will definitely make sure you understand that you've got a bad meal deal. 100%.
I wouldn't expect any less. on the topic of heckling, yeah, I mean, you were kind of starting out in a new direction with your comedy career, and unfortunately, COVID, like so many other things, has curtailed that a bit.
Yeah.
But did you ever get any decent heckles while you were in that medium?
The best heckle I got was from my mum. Is that I was telling a story. It was honestly one of my first ever shows. And it turned out to be probably the funniest thing that's ever happened to me on stage. I was telling a story of when I was growing up. I could hear someone whispering in the crowd. I could see my mum was talking to my sister. And I said, do you care to speak for the class? And she was like, that's not how that story happened. And then there was just kind of this hilarious kind of 90-second interaction between myself and my mum in front of 100 people, in which I explained that what I was doing was comedy and I was on stage in front of a lot of people. So it's probably been the best heckle has probably been from my mum. I've told the story before of my first ever gig where I got up on stage and the guy after me got up and said it was in a comedy club in Dalston. I told nobody I was going, and the guy who got up after me got up and stood there, enormous guy in this puffer jacket, incredibly intimidating, and just said, "If any of you think of heckling, just know I'm carrying a knife." And I think everyone there didn't quite understand whether he was telling the truth or not, or it was a joke, but it definitely worked, and he got no heckles throughout the 5-minute set. But for me, heckles, they don't really happen that often because at the moment I'm performing to audiences that come and watch the videos. So they're coming to the shows knowing a little bit about me. So it's not like I'm sat in a pub at 2 a.m. in Ipswich trying to win over a crowd of people who've never watched any of my stuff before. It's a real home crowd. So, and that's something that I'm slightly worried about, is when I do take the show to audiences that don't watch the videos or don't have understand what my content is, and trying to win them over. And that's the sign of that's the sign when I feel like I've properly kind of succeeded in the comedy industry, is when I can go into any room, regardless of whether they watch my videos or not, and make them laugh. So that's definitely a goal.
Is this a call to arms for people to heckle in your shows? Or
Definitely not. Definitely not. I mean, actually, heckling, I think heckling is a positive thing if the intention is to increase humor in the show. I think that can only be a good thing. If people also laugh from the heckle, then great. If it's it's a heckle that says you're then it's not a particularly well-crafted heckle. It's not going to make people laugh. But if it's something that is funny, then go for it. I didn't heckle, but one of the reasons I love comedy is I would go to the Comedy Store in London in Leicester Square. And there's a night there called the Comedy Store Players, which is an improv troupe that have been going for 25, 30 years. And in this improv troupe, you've got a lot of big kind of members of the comedy scene. Paul Merton, for example, is one of the players there. And they obviously ask for suggestions all the time. And and so I was once there, and I was with my dad, and they said, "Can we have an example of a book, a kind of a dramatic fiction?" And someone said, "Moby Dick." And the cotton player said, "Yeah, that's good, but just something like Moby Dick, but not Moby Dick." And I shouted out, "Dobie Mick." And everyone laughed. I thought it was the best moment of my entire life. The compere laughed. He thought that was good. And then we moved on. And so that was in two ways. That was a heckle, which I thought added to a show in some sense. But secondly, it was the first time I was like, "Oh, that feels great." Getting people to laugh at something that I've said, and that warm sound that you get only in a comedy club, is something that I really want to chase after. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I started doing comedy.
Oh no, that sounds fantastic. Did you ever go to the Newcastle? I can't remember the name of the
Stand. Yeah,
the Stand. Did you ever go to its Red Raw night? I think it's called.
I didn't go to Red Raw, no, but I had a few friends of mine who competed. I think that's the way you can say it.
Yeah.
And who entered into Red Raw. No, I only went to the Stand a couple of times. And actually, the stuff I saw there wasn't particularly good.
Oh.
But I am currently looking at doing a tour of the UK with the stand-up show. And I would love to perform at the Stand, because it's something that when I was there, it was just kind of such an iconic venue for comedians. So I'd love to perform there.
No, I'm sure it'd be well received. Because would you say that your fan base is still? I mean, obviously it's grown massively, especially after Maximus Bucharest from Romania.
From Bucharest, indeed.
Would you say that it's still very localized in the Newcastle University region, or is your fan base a lot bigger, a lot more widespread now?
I guess I don't know. Look, I mean, yes, I can see the analytics tells me that there are people from all over the world, which is so cool to think that you can make a video in your bedroom or in your kitchen and it will be seen by people from around the world. That to me is just bonkers. Initially, yeah, definitely the viewers were all Newcastle University based, and towards the end of my time at Newcastle, there was kind of a rep that Street Smart had, and by the time I finished the year, I didn't have any trouble asking people to be in the videos. Where at the beginning it was a real can I go for 2 minutes of your time? Whereas at the end, people saw the lights, saw the camera, saw me with a microphone, and just kind of clicked and they understood what was going on. But I guess that's a question for you guys. Is there still kind of a viewers? Are there still viewers of Max Fosh up in Newcastle, even though I've left 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, a couple of my housemates are quite excited that yeah, I'm going to talk to you, to be fair.
Really? Yeah, well, there you go. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that at least it means that if I do come up to Newcastle and try and sell tickets to a comedy night, then I'll get a few people to come. So please, guys, put out the word.
I don't think because when I was telling people, when you confirmed that you'd be on this interview very graciously, I was really excited. I told a few people, and while there were people outside of Newcastle that knew of you and liked your videos, what I found was it was mainly people from Newcastle that were that kind of knew you by name. I think they knew of your videos. Like when I said Street Smart, they knew who you were. But I think like for channel recognition, it was mainly. I'm not trying to say this to upset you. I'm just no. It was just honestly, my findings.
For me, it's really interesting to know that, because I have moved away from a certain type of content into another type of content, and that's for various reasons. Mainly kind of boredom, mainly inspiration. Like I don't particularly love making Street Smart videos anymore because I've done 100 of them. So it's quite simple to just stand with a microphone and shove it in someone's face. They say something silly and then edit it down. So I have moved away from Street Smart in the coming years, and COVID has massively accelerated that because I can't go out and interview people. And so it's interesting to find out where people are starting watching the videos, whether they're stopping after Street Smart stops or whether they're continuing watching the bigger ideas and the more longer form concepts. But yeah, I mean, is there anything up in Newcastle that has taken Street Smart? Are there people who are doing things similar to Street Smart? Because I nicked the idea from people who'd done it a few years previously, so it goes in cycles. But is there a new person doing a Street Smart-esque thing?
I'm not too sure there is, actually.
There may be soon. This could be a change in direction for us.
Please go for it. Whoever, if anybody's listening who's thinking of doing it, please do it. You have my blessing.
If anybody's listening, is a question that we often ask ourselves too. So don't be alone.
No, please do it. And I often get kind of videos sent to me of people interviewing drunk students at college and whatever. And they say, "Oh, you nicked your idea," and I said, "No, they didn't. I nicked. It's not a new idea." And for example, the Newcastle University Television Society did exactly that, and because they wouldn't let me on as a presenter, I started my own thing. So, like, I did it because I couldn't get a job with NUTV.
That's. I mean, a credit to you, and it's obviously worked. Kind of on that, it is your YouTube is a full-time career for you, is it not?
Yeah.
How did your parents react to that? Or like, oh, hey, mum, what have you been up to? I've been to the biggest porn event in the world, AVN. Like, how was that kind of transition for your parents?
Pretty smooth, if I'm honest. I think that I had always, because I'd been doing the radio stuff for so long before I started making videos, and I'd been very clear that I wanted to be a presenter from the age of kind of like, since I started university at 19. It wasn't too much of a leap, and it wasn't like one day you woke up and I started being a YouTuber. It was like, oh, I'm doing some YouTube stuff, and then I had made enough money that I could quit my job at the pub and I could slowly move into the sphere, and they're totally on board with it. I mean, I think they quite like it because they're going to parties and their friends have sons and daughters who are my age who watch the videos and say, oh, Max is doing quite well on YouTube, he's making those videos, that must be great. And so they're kind of getting the social recognition, the social kudos from their friends who have kids who are talking about it. So from a pride point of view, and is it something that they encourage wholeheartedly, 100%. And I went for a walk with my dad the other day, and it was very kind that two viewers stopped and said hello whilst we were on the walk. And my dad was just like, "Are they friends of yours? Are they kind of like, do you know them?" I was like, "No, Dad, they just watched the video." And he's like, "Oh, I see." But once I could tell them that I was making money and that I was completely self-sufficient financially, then they were like, "Oh, okay, then that makes total sense." So they know they've been nothing but supportive about it.
Oh, that's really encouraging to hear. Because YouTube's almost like the Rockefeller. It's the new innovation where there isn't so much inventions anymore on the same scale that there was during the Industrial Revolution. There's very much this kind of, it's the new way of being self-sufficient, like you said, in many ways, I feel.
Yeah, I think that's both positive and a negative for creators, for creators. So it's a positive in the fact that the barriers to entry is much lower now. Like, you don't need an agent, you don't need someone to have your back and to have that stamp of approval and be like, yes, that guy Max makes good videos, therefore you guys should see it. So, which previously had happened when you were trying to make something, whether that was whether you were producing or directing, you needed the stamp of approval from others in high places to get yourself recognized. Whereas now, that's not the case. As long as you're making videos that people want to watch, it's very simple. YouTube has an algorithm that wants people to stay on their platform as long as possible. So if your view duration is long, so people are watching your videos all the way through, then YouTube will recognize that, and eventually it will start pushing your videos. So, like, people sometimes ask me, how do I grow? How do I grow on YouTube? I think if you're thinking about that, that's a bad way to start, because YouTube, although it is a very immediate platform, or social media is a very immediate platform, you can get whatever video you like instantly. You can hear exactly what that person has to say at any given time. They think that success on social media is also instant. It's not. It takes, I was honing my presenting skills since I started university at 2014 when I joined NSR, the student radio. So, and only last year did I go YouTube like properly full time. So that's 6 years of learning and making content. So to go back to your original point, yes, YouTube is innovating and it's an amazing platform. It gives creator this total open market to create whatever they like. And if people like it, then they can get paid for it. But it also, it takes as much hard work, if not more so, than every other profession, every other career to quote unquote make it. So that's something that I always want to try and point out. Not because I have found some like modest success on the platform, but it's to show that I also worked really hard to get to this point. And if you want to make it on social media, then you need to be prepared to put in a lot of work. And I still need to put in a lot of work to get where I want to go. But I really enjoy doing what I'm doing, so then it doesn't really feel like work. It's a long-winded way of answering your question, but
No, I think that's a really, and it's always nice to hear someone enjoys their work, because especially, I remember, not to dwell on your other podcast interviews, but you said on, I think it was the Antisocial podcast, that you kind of went into the expected, you tried the expected kind of careers for yourself, and you just didn't enjoy them. And I think it's really nice that you've now found something that you think, you know what, it might not have been where I thought I'd be in when you were however old, but you found this really lovely career for yourself.
Yeah, it's not what I mean. I did I've said before, and I'll say again, I come from a very privileged background. So I did the tried and tested so-called trodden path. I had the internships at the big banks, and I did stuff in insurance, and I sat behind a desk for a month at an internship and was so bored, excuse my language. I thought, is this it? Is this what people are talking about? Is this what people go to school and go to university, they strive for? That also as well was very much what I saw at the internship, this kind of lad culture, this like very blasé drinking culture, and it's the boys. We're going out with the boys and we're making money with the boys. And I really didn't like that. I don't really drink very much. I don't go out that much. And so the idea of getting blackout drunk and then getting up and going back into the office and making kind of more money with the boys, it just didn't appeal to me. I mean, that some people love that line of work, but looking at the spreadsheets, I didn't enjoy it. I liked making people laugh. And so I it's gotten a while to get to where I am in terms of what I thought I was going to be. I thought I was going to be a radio presenter, then I thought I was going to be a TV presenter, then I thought I was going to be a YouTube, then a comedian. It changes every 2 years. And I bet you in 20 years' time, I'm going to be doing something that I never would have expected myself to be doing. But I think that's how it works. I personally haven't had that experience of, I know what my vocation is, I know what my calling is, and I'm going to get from A to B. And once I'm there, that's it. That's not really going to be the case, I don't think, with me.
No, I think it's always lovely to hear though. This kind of almost neatly brings us on to what we kind of wanted to discuss with you mainly today, which was university life.
Yes.
Now, obviously, our university life this year has been a victim, not to any way is like devastating to some other people, of COVID. I mean, obviously, we're very thankful that we've had our health, but it's not been what we signed up for in many in many regards. And I saw that you kind of said that on one podcast that you tried to hide your poshness. Do you think that was more precursive, or was it something that you tried to do once you kind of, not discrimination, but some backlash for being posh yourself?
I never did it because of backlash about being posh. And I don't think, yes, there are a few jokes that you get when you go to university, but mainly because, but I don't begrudge that in any way at all, because that's the real world. I mean, it's not already, people are very privileged to be able to go to university, but my whole life I'd been in a system that was all from people from a certain upbringing. So it was an eye-opening experience for me. Now, from what I've seen happen is that a lot of people who come from my background cannot acknowledge the fact they've come from that background and thus take the piss out of themselves lightly. You're not being asked to totally remove all of the pieces of who you are. And I hopefully haven't done that, but it's okay to have the piss taken out of you a little bit and give it back a little bit. It's a little bit of a back and forth. And so I have seen people from a privileged background who will then take it on and feel personally affronted by the little jabs, the little barbs, and thus make it their whole personality, will make it everything about who they are, and go the opposite direction as a way of like you, I'm going to really kind of entrench myself within a certain type of people. When I've thought, look, I grew up with around a certain type of people, but I want to meet everyone. I want to kind of interact with loads of different people. And that's why I do the videos that I make, going to a porn convention, going to a metal detecting convention, going to the wife carrying championships. I don't go there, and hopefully this comes across in the videos, I don't go there to stand there on the sidelines with my microphone and make people look stupid. I go there to find out why someone goes to the World Wife Carrying Championship, to try it myself. So with the unconventional system, I always try to do the thing that is being done. So, and I find that almost every single time I go somewhere, I leave thinking, oh, I can totally understand why people do that. Like the metal detecting day was one of the best of my life, because I understood why people would go out in a field. Because it's like 100 of your mates all going out in the field, you're in nature. Every time your metal detector beeps, you have no idea what could be under it. 99% it's nothing, but it could be something worth thousands of pounds. And so I could totally understand that idea. But to go back to your question, I've never tried to hide it, but I've never tried to make it my adjective. I try to make it so that you can get to know me. And yes, I've come from a privileged background, and yes, I'm lucky. But get to know me as to who I am and to what my values are, and take it from there.
I think that's really beautifully put. But I think there was a nice point that you raised about it being that you never try to go there to take the piss. Whereas I sometimes feel with All Gas No Breaks, there's a certain, I mean, I'm sure he's a really lovely guy, but I feel like his videos kind of go there with a very set preconception, and it's like the Flat Earth Convention. I'm going to make them look a bit daft for saying this, rather than with your unconventional, going there with more of an open mind. I don't know. I know you kind of had some comments on All Gas No Breaks that you were going to save till later, but I feel like that was kind of the impression that I got, at least from his videos.
Yeah, All Gas. I mean, look, I met All Gas No Breaks once. I met him in Vegas at the porn convention last year, and it was this time last year. It was January 2020, and I'd flown to Vegas, and I'd heard about this guy who was making these videos, and he had been shared a lot on Instagram by some of the big meme pages. And so I was aware of this guy, especially when I see another kind of interviewer doing Vox Pops. I think, well, who is this guy? And he was getting big numbers. And there was definitely an element of jealousy there from me, because he had done it. He seemingly had done it so quickly. He'd put maybe like 4 videos on his channel and was getting millions of views on each of those videos. And from my point of view, I was very, I was kind of a bit, what's not, begins with an R, resentful. I was resentful of his style of videos, because I saw that he wasn't saying much as a presenter. And so he was essentially just holding a microphone, and he had a few funny quips. Anyway, I saw him in Vegas, and I had maybe like 150,000 subscribers, not well. And I walked past him and I said, "Hello, mate. I'm Max. I make YouTube videos like you do." And he looked so disinterested in who I was, and not even the sense that I want you to kind of stop your day and have a chat for 5 minutes. But it was kind of like, he didn't look at me. I tried to offer my hand to him to shake it, and he gave me the one of the incredible limpest handshake. Didn't look me in the eye, and just said, "Sorry, dude, I gotta go," and just walked off, almost without giving me a second glance. And so my look, I'm sure he's an absolutely lovely guy, but that instance with him wasn't the best first impression that I'd given, especially someone that I thought was, oh, we do the same thing here, let's kind of chat. I mean, he probably never seen my videos, which is absolutely fine. But the way that he interacted with me that first time, I was quite disappointed. It's kind of like a don't meet your heroes kind of vibe, because it was very dismissive, I'm doing something very important here, go away. When in fact we're doing the same things. We're both in the same industry. Let's try and chat. And I've had chats with people who were in the same industry, and we've done some really cool things. I mean, Zac and Jay is a perfect example. Guys who were bigger than me when I first met them, but were really, really kind. And we went on to make some really cool videos. And so that was my experience with All Gas No Breaks. And he's blown up in such a huge way. And there's a part of me that is very resentful, but fair play to the guy.
Do you think that the kind of blowing up of his channel was because it's more outlandish and audacious?
Yeah,
because there's definitely I mean, you're very British in mannerisms, like in the very traditional, very kind to everybody. Well, I know that's not necessarily very British if you go back 200 years, but like the very British ideals of very kind, very respectful, and you never, as I've said, you never go out with the intent to make somebody look a fool.
No.
And do you feel that kind of, sorry?
Yeah, I think he makes sensationalist content. He makes really packageable pieces of content that you can put down into 10 seconds, you put on Instagram, and it comes across really well because it's some guy who's drugged out of his mind in a field saying all sorts of nonsense. And so with my videos, unless somebody gives it to me, then I won't give it back. And yeah, there is an element of kind of trying to make some comedy here. So I will leave in bits where I rib them or take the piss out of them slightly. But inversely, if someone does the same to me and I think it's funny, I will keep it in the video as well. It's not a situation where it's just a one-way street. So like, yeah, he makes sensationalist content. He's done very well for himself. How long that's going to last, I don't know, because I don't know. I think to make yourself last on YouTube, you need to be a storyteller. You need to tell stories, because ultimately your shtick will stop, and it will burn out, and you'll have your year of incredible growth. But I'm just be interested to see how he does more story-based stuff.
No, I think that's a really fair point. Did you ever see the article on the Daily Mail about yourself? Sorry, I'm going forward to go back a bit with the All Gas No Breaks, but coming back to did you ever see the article the Daily Mail wrote about you?
What was this, the Radio 1 one?
Yeah, it was on the female section.
It was on the female section.
Yeah.
I saw that.
I wasn't sure if you'd seen that. I thought that was quite spelled obviously FE male, but yeah. Do you kind of, because you said about the ribbing yourself, do you ever feel that, I mean, I've never got this watching your videos, and I think it was just a guy trying to get ahead, because in that competitive industry, I think you do need to definitely set yourself apart, and it was a fantastic way of doing it. But do you get a lot of that? Because I went through the comments and most of them were very positive, but you did have the odd one, which there's always going to be, that was kind of more critical of your stunt, if you will.
I do get it. I do get it. No matter how kind of PG and happy clappy and smiley I think my content is, and how positive I try to make it, I still get negative comments, of course, because of the way that I talk and because of my background. So I did the Radio 1 stunt where I printed my CV on the roof of my car and parked it outside Radio 1, and I tweeted about it, and the tweet went viral. And it was the first time that I got a sustained amount of criticism. There was a lot of tweets saying that they could see this was white privilege. This was only something that I'd been able to do because I was I was from a privileged background, and it's only because I had money that I was able to do this, which firstly was not true. I paid for the whole stunt, which didn't cost very much. There's stickers on my car. Yeah, I had a car. I was very privileged to have a car, but I made all of that from YouTube, from making videos, and so I had made that money myself. So that didn't bother me at all. But there were a lot of videos being like, this is just white privilege. This guy has got no sense in reality. And look, I do get those comments online. That's what happens when you work on social media. You get comments that are negative, and it's just about how you react to that. I didn't even read the Daily Mail article.
I wouldn't waste your time, honestly.
Because I thought
it's not well written, to be fair.
It's awful.
There's nothing in that article that is that's going to make me feel better about myself. And I've stopped, and I've reduced the amount of comments that I read now, actually, as well, because they never fill you with anything positive. The only thing that makes me feel positive is the videos that I make and whether I am happy with how they've come out. So the comments, if anything, are completely arbitrary. And I love getting hate comments on my videos because it drives engagement. So YouTube thinks more people are talking about it, which makes them push it more. So it's great. Getting more comments is great on my videos. And I sometimes, if I'm feeling in a bit of a cheeky mood, if someone has written a comment like, I absolutely hate this guy, who the f does he think he is? This is terrible. I will put a lovely comment underneath being like, thank you so much for your feedback. Really helps with the engagement. This is going to really help because YouTube thinks it's getting more engagement, so it's going to push it further. And sometimes they delete the comment, which I find hilarious. But I just try to kill them with kindness. It's something that is part of the industry that I'm in. It happens. Does it affect me? Sometimes. I'm not going to lie. It does affect me sometimes. It's not like it's something that I let completely wash over me. It only affects me when it's something that I'm self-conscious about myself. So if there's something that I've been worried about myself, about a video or about my appearance or something, and somebody comments about it in a comment section, that's when it does hurt. But being on the platform, being in this social media sphere, it's just something you need to learn and get on with. Like, there are issues and difficulties with every other line of work.
No, that's Newcastle, I feel one of its real strengths as a university is the mental health services that it has, because that was kind of touching on your, you don't like to read them because it obviously it makes you're not going to feel good after someone saying, oh, what a prick, I don't know.
Totally.
So you were there quite a few years before us, not to make you feel old, but as a matter of fact.
When did you guys start uni?
Last year.
So we're second years.
Yeah, this was second years.
Okay, yeah, right. Okay, so there's absolutely no overlap. I was wondering whether when I was in fourth year, you were in first year. No, absolutely no overlap. No. Okay.
So was the kind of mental health services there at Newcastle when you were there, or is it something that they rapidly developed very, very effectively?
They were definitely there. I seem to remember they were definitely in the SU. You could definitely go speak to people if you had any problems. I don't think I ever did in the time that I was there. I think the reason why is that as my family, we've been incredibly open and vocal about mental health since I've been growing up. Like, my sister is a therapist, having gone through some incredible battles with various different mental health issues. So in my family, mental health is seen just as a completely normal topic of conversation. So I didn't necessarily seek the mental health services at Newcastle because I was already very well in touch with my mental health. I think I went once, but I can't remember what the topic was about. And I also think it was about something related to work rather than my mental health, and see whether they could help me from a work point of view. So I knew they were definitely there. And there was definitely a drive from the university to make sure that people were going to them or using the services. But I didn't use them.
No. Sorry, I wasn't trying to pry into your
please,
mental stability. I wasn't seeing if we could push you over the edge for a clickbait title. Watch the Fosh breakdown. Goodness gosh, what a Fosh. No, so yeah. Do you feel that you learn more from the university experience that's not taught rather than what is taught? Everything
I learned. Here's an example for you. I didn't get a 2-1 in a single essay that I wrote at university, right? I did English. I didn't get a 2-1 in a single English essay I wrote at university, but I nearly got a first in my degree. And the way I did that was by purely choosing...
Sorry, could I just pause you while I get my notepad? Wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to take note of this.
I'm making notes of this as well.
This is I mean, it's slightly different from the question you asked, but I take quite pride in this because I learned very quickly at university to work smart, not hard. Like, people were killing themselves in the library with 2 5,000-word essays back to back because the modules they'd chosen had said that was the assessment criteria. I purely chose subjects that I knew had assessments that strengthened what my skill set was, which was public speaking, presentations, creating things other than writing. So I didn't care what the topic was. I didn't give a whether it was on 18th century Reformation literature or contemporary movies. I would choose modules purely in what the assessment was. And as a result, I did combined honours. I did English and business and economics, I think. And so my dissertation, I managed to talk to my tutor, and my dissertation was 3 Street Smart videos back to back with a 1,000-word commentary, and I got 92. So like that is what I learned at university, is that you can do things for yourself that make your life so much easier. And what I learned at university was social skills, was meeting new people, was finding out what I wanted to do with my life, was the value of hard work, not from an academic point of view, but from a creative point of view. I was part of the theatre society, I was part of Nuts. And so I did every term I was doing a show, every day I was doing a play. And so we'd work for every night, 6 till 9 in what's the building opposite the SU, opposite Luther's.
The Luther's.
So if you go down the steps as if you're going to
where the is it Yo Sushi at the minute?
Oh God, they've got Yo Sushi in there.
Yeah, I think they've got a Yo Sushi.
God. Opposite is Subway still there? Is Subway still there?
Subway's still there, and Domino's.
Literally opposite Subway, those double doors there.
Yeah.
So in that building, from 6 till 9 every night, we would go and rehearse, and we would do the show, and I would love it. And that feeling you got after creating something you'd worked really hard for was so great. And so learning about that value of creativity, that hard work when it comes to creativity, was something that was so invaluable to me. And if I hadn't gone to university, I wouldn't have discovered radio, which meant I wouldn't have discovered hospital radio, which meant I wouldn't have made Street Smart. So yes, I learned so much at university from my experience than the academic side of it, definitely.
Because one of the big issues this year is that obviously people have just been locked up and basically focusing on their degrees rather than the other things that can lead to perhaps even a future job in your case. But yeah. I think us this year, like perhaps even next year, it's often been the case that people have just had to focus on their degrees because like there's nothing else to do. There's nothing else you can do legally. Like that.
And I feel so sorry for you.
It's not great.
It must be horrific. And
that's
probably, I mean, because the terms are so short, like you'll break up in May, and in the whole of the summer you won't be even at university. So I mean, hopefully by September it will be a little bit different, and it will be something that you guys can properly enjoy. And then you've got all the work to do. So guys, I really, really feel for you. It's really, I just do it again. Start from first year again. You're in no rush.
That is tempting, to be fair.
So you mentioned that you never got a 2-1 in an essay.
Yeah.
How did you get onto the English course then? Because didn't you have to? Yeah, I mean, you struck an almighty deal. The confidence to do that is just
I don't
incredible.
know how I did it. So I was about 6 months into my I was doing economics and finance when I first joined university, and I hated it. I realized it was a maths degree, and I got in my January exam in my first year, I got 12% in an exam, and what was also really embarrassing is that I'd left the exam thinking I'd absolutely smashed it. It was 2 questions, and one of them I just got wrong, and the other one I'd made an error in the first line of working out, so I got the whole thing. Anyway, so I hated it, and all of my friends in the theatre society were doing English literature. I thought, well, that sounds fun. I can just, it's like, yeah, you can do loads of modules where you do plays, and there are loads of modules where you like talk about film. I thought, wow, that's great. So I walked into the English literature school and said, hi guys, I would like to do your degree, please. And they said, okay. What did you get in your English A level? I said, I didn't do English A level. And they said, well, that's a problem. I'm so sorry. You can't be accepted into the School of English without an English A level. And what did you do for A levels, Max? I said, well, I did maths, history, and economics. It's like, well, that doesn't really help. And I said, and I don't know why. And I don't know why they said yes. I said, look, if I get a 2-1 in my economics first year, it shows that I'll be able to write coherently and I'll be a good student. I'll be of value to your school. And they said, okay, as long as you do it with another honor. So you go into combined honors, but you can do English. And so we struck this deal like 2 weeks before the final exams, my first year final economics exam. And obviously I'd been coasting under the idea, the pretense of 40%. 40%, guys, 40%. I suddenly need to find 20% out of nowhere in 2 weeks. And I got my results, and I remember looking down and I got 59.6% overall. And I just called the English school and said, guys, look, we both want this deal done. I'll help you, you help me. And I don't know why, I think out of just pure, just feeling sorry for me, they were like, yeah, sure, come on in. And then I started again from English, doing English from first year again. So that's how it worked. It was pure kind of balls, but I was just so unhappy doing economics. I think that's why I decided to kind of put my balls to the wall and ask English whether I could join them.
I mean, you had nothing to lose, and it clearly worked out for the better. And because it's funny that you should mention that, if you got a 2-1, you showed that you had the ability to write. We actually had a module in second year, and it was about how to write an essay. And there was a certain, there was, and it was about general writing, like how to better the writing. But there was a certain point where we were like, but we should really know how to do this if we're in second year.
Yeah. I didn't know what I was doing. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how to write an essay. I was a liar. I was lying through my teeth. But they accepted me, luckily, and I just kind of just blabbed my way through.
I think one of the skills, especially this year, that university teaches without them perhaps realizing it, is adaptability. Because the way that you have to react to deadlines, especially like when the fear sets in, deadlines, and just everything's very much an unknown, because every lecturer wants something different out of your writings. So I think just the way that you have to adapt is such a key issue. And I should imagine, especially although you're moving away from that, with the Vox Pop stuff, that must have been incredibly useful to you.
Yeah, like having the ability to do Vox Pops whilst doing English, you mean?
Sorry, like how having the ability just to react to something quickly and kind of change your plans.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And actually, I tell you that the reason I started Street Smart is because the Freshers Week before, so that was 2016, right? So I was in my third year. It was Freshers Week, and I'd gone on a night out to Powerhouse for some reason with loads of my mates. And
solid night out, to be fair.
It was a great night out. And Facebook Live had just started. It was something that was like quite new. And so a friend of mine went live in the smoking area of Powerhouse, and I had this enormous inflatable microphone, and I was going around talking to people. And that was something that we just kind of did. And the next morning I woke up and watched it and thought, God, that was terrible. But quite a few people had watched it. And that's kind of where the idea for Street Smart started. So a year later, I then did it properly. So, I mean, it's got nothing to do with your question, but adaptability is definitely something that you need to be able to know how to do, not only when I'm filming, but with ideas and coming up with new ideas.
I mean, one thing that I was wondering, I'm sure I'm not alone in this, was when coronavirus is only a figment of our imagination.
Yeah.
Will you, and all the clubs reopen, will you be coming back to Newcastle to film a special post-lockdown Street Smart? Because I'll be honest, I feel incredibly sorry. Normally something I can't say I would admit to. I'm going to feel incredibly sorry for all the bouncers, all the DJs on the first few nights out, because I can just imagine pure chaos, especially in a city like Newcastle.
I think if there was any city that I would come back and do one, it would be Newcastle. I would stand in the normal place that I stood for a year in the freezing cold next to Gary, the grumpy guitarist who always stands there. We became mates. And I would definitely do one. And so I am thinking that we're planning a tour, a comedy tour with the show, and Newcastle is on the top of my list. So I will probably be spending a few nights there. So there will be a definite possibility to come back and do a video at Newcastle for sure.
Incredible. I mean, is Gary? Does he have a dog, Gary?
Not that I remember. Not that I knew. He was this kind of relatively short, Geordie guy, dark hair. And he would just stand there, and it depended. It was quite funny. Me and my camerawoman would joke about trying to find out what mood Gary was in that night. So sometimes he'd be in a great mood and would be chatting and joking away, and others he would be absolutely miserable. But no, he probably won't remember me, but I will always remember Gary and his playing in Wonderwall, which he was so. If you pass Gary, never ask him to play Wonderwall, please, for his own sake. He is so sick and tired of it.
I think I might have played Gary's guitar one night with his permission. I didn't just run off with it, but I seem to. It's a really beautiful city. Do you ever miss it living in London? Because they're obviously very different, because I love Newcastle, and I think Alex will agree with this because of how compact it seems. Yeah. Everything. I mean, I've seen it dubbed the 15-minute city because you can walk from one side to the other in 15 minutes and you will see a vast array of people, all lovely different people, from every kind of background. It's a real lovely melting pot. And do you ever miss that in London?
I do. The biggest thing that I miss, and the biggest thing that I found when I left university, I think everyone finds this, is the proximity to your mates, the proximity to your friends. You totally take for granted when you're at university, like the ability just to message someone, like, what are you doing at the moment? Can I just come around and we just hang out? That just doesn't happen in London. Although we are in the same city, everyone's got plans. And those plans are mostly work. So to see someone, or to see a big group of people, just to go down to the pub on a whim, requires a lot of planning, and no matter how kind of rose tinted your specs are, that will always be the case. So you will never have the ability or the accessibility to your friends when you're in London. So that's what I miss. I was a student for 4 years, and so living in student houses for 4 years, like, you do start to realize that they are pretty disgusting. And as soon as I went back to London and started living in London, I realized, okay, I've done my time in kind of disgusting apartments with 7 people, and there's 3 people you've never met before who just kind of walking in every now and then. So I don't quite miss that, but I definitely miss the friends element.
Did you ever live in Jesmond? Because I'll bleep this bit, but I'm going to live in Jesmond next year.
Whereabouts is that?
Obviously, whenever you say the road name, I am going to be bleeping it out for obvious reasons.
I lived okay, where is that? Oh, okay, so that's in kind of West Jesmond. I get you. Yeah, so I lived in 3 places in Jesmond. I lived in Fern Avenue in
my mate lives on Fern Avenue. I think it might be that house.
Yeah, it's the one next to the big tree. It's next to a massive tree.
Yeah,
I lived there.
We need to erect blue plaques in all these houses, I feel.
I lived in Fern Avenue. I lived in Devonshire Place, which has got this blue door. And then my final year, I lived in Larkspur Terrace, which is next to, is in between Greggs and Tesco.
What a What a location.
Yeah, and that road that runs kind of like 90 degrees from Tesco. And so, yeah, no, I had 3 amazing years in Redmond, and the ability to just jump on your bike and cycle into uni in 7 minutes was just amazing.
Yeah. Do you miss university? And I don't mean that because obviously you've said that, but would you prefer to be back at university with, or would you prefer to be where you are now? So if you could like kind of flick a switch and just be back there as a student.
So it's a really good question. I don't think I would, because I wouldn't be privy to the opportunities that I'm getting now. I wouldn't be able to do the opportunities I could do now. I think at this stage of my career, I'm 25. And so all I want to do right now is work. I just want to kill myself by working as hard as I possibly can. And at university, that's not particularly conducive. And I had my fun. I really did have my fun, and I'll never forget that. But at the moment, all I want to do is work. So I think I would prefer to be where I am now, but just university it's the best time. It really, really, really is.
Yeah, I think we can all agree with that. And I think that's a lovely place to kind of wrap up, unless you have any more questions, Alex.
No, I think we've gone through the list. I think, let me just check.
List. Yeah, it wasn't scripted, but it
wasn't scripted, no, but somewhat of a list.
Just the topics we'd like to bring up. But yeah, I think we've pretty much covered them all. So thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I mean, if you're listening to this, I presume you already know who Max is, but if you don't, obviously check him out on every single thing. He is an excellent creator and deserves all the accolation that he receives.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
Hopefully, guys, when I come out to Newcastle, hopefully in September on the tour, come say hi, come to a show.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
We will do. We'll do.
Amazing. Guys, thank you so much.